So what are the 5 ways? Very quickly, I want to give you 5 things that I've noticed that always tend to happen in a church turnaround. These happen in different ways, but they all seem to appear in church turnarounds. First of all, turnaround happens when we redefine reality for the people in the church. Someone once said that the first job of a leader is to define reality in a church. And someone has to come in and to redefine reality. This usually means that we bring clarity to mission, to vision, to the future of the church. It usually means that we show them in some way the situation that they're really in. We make sure that they begin to realize that they are in big trouble unless they do something. Now, it usually means that we can't just tell them that, but we have to help them see it themselves. We have to help them begin to see it and smell it and feel it themselves so that they then begin to take on the passion themselves that something needs to change in our church. So the first thing that usually happens is we must help them redefine reality. Secondly, turnaround happens when we create urgency in the life of the church. They can sometimes see reality, but if it doesn't have a measure of urgency to it, then they're really not sometimes motivated to make any changes in the church. So we have to help them see that this is an urgent situation. And sometimes that's done because we're able to help them see a dissonance between what is potentially possible and what the reality is today. We've all probably done an exercise where, let's say a church is not doing a good job of welcoming guests. And then we take some of those people to another church that does a good job in welcoming guests. And then you bring them back to their church and you tell them, okay, let's compare. What did you just experience to what's actually happening in your church? That creates dissonance. It begins to help them see that there's better ways of doing things and we're not actually doing them that way. And it begins to create within them this sense of urgency. Well, I guess maybe we really need to do something about this. So sometimes those two things go in hand. That is, number one, helping them define reality, and then number two, helping them create urgency. The third thing that often happens in a turnaround is that we help the church make hard decisions. Turnaround is not an easy thing to do. And I like what Sam Chan says. He's a consultant. He's over in the Atlanta area. And he says that the future of a church is directly tied to the pastor's ability to suffer pain. The future of a church is directly tied to the ability of a pastor to suffer pain. And part of that pain is, in a church, is that we have to help the pastor and other church leaders make the hard decisions. In turnaround, those hard decisions sometimes means that we have to let people go. We have staff, perhaps, or we have lay workers in the church, and sometimes we have to let them go. We have to remove them from the ministries that they're in because, frankly, they're just not doing what needs to be done. And those are hard decisions because in churches, we're networked together and people love each other and they care for each other. And the thought of just asking this person who's faithfully served for 10 years in a ministry to step down or step off of a board or step off of a paid position is very difficult for them to do. But we as consultants, we as church leaders can help them make those hard decisions. Other hard decisions are closing ministries, stopping ministries that aren't working anymore. And we just need to remove the resources from those ministries and put those resources otherwhere. But it means that we're going to have to close those ministries. Those are hard decisions. Hard decisions about where to redirect funds. Sometimes the hard decision is we have to help that pastor realize that that pastor is not the person to lead that church anymore. And maybe we need to help them, we need to out-counsel them to other particular ministries. But turnaround always involves pain. It always involves hard decisions. And we as leaders help them make those hard decisions. A fourth thing that always happens in a turnaround is that we have to help the church refocus on the community. And this has already been mentioned this morning. Churches that are in need of turnaround, as you know, are always inward focused. And they have lost that focus on the community, on the unreached people. And we need to help them begin to turn their eyes on the community and begin to decide how can they missionally engage the community in many different ways in order to reestablish those networks and those relationships with the de-churched and the non-churched people out there. And then the fifth thing that I found that always happens in a turnaround is that you have to start something new. You have to start something new. One of the rules that goes back for many years in church growth says that growth comes through new units. The growth in the church comes through the new ministries, the new classes, the new groups. If people wanted to come to the old groups and the old classes and the old services, they'd be there now. And they don't want to come to those old things. But it's the establishing of a new worship service that gets the new people to come. A new class gets new people. A new small group gets new people. A new ministry in the community gets new people. So we always have to help them not just focus on the community and engage the community, but as they learn the needs and the hurts and the pains of the people in the community, then we have to start appropriate ministries that are brand new, that will reach out and attract new people to the church.